Are you live? Okay, here we go. This is Nic Douglass, Adventures of a Sailor Girl in the BOATYARD on the ground in Newport for the Volvo Ocean Race stopover. And I've caught Mark Gardner, the manager, I guess, of the Harken in terms of projects for the Volvo Ocean Race.
Yeah, exactly. I basically run anything to do with Harken for Volvo. So I look after and basically put the team together and then run the logistics side of it and the spare parts and also the hands-on servicing as well. So
that's pretty incredible, because when you're talking about logistics, I mean, the Volvo Ocean Race, it's around the world. It must be incredibly challenging when we're thinking about logistics.
it is, yeah. It's hard work. I mean, there's even more to it than just logistics. It's actually quite hard on the guys that are working, because we're you're swapping around different countries, different time zones, and the logistics side of it is tricky. Yeah, trying to work out how to get all the spare parts around the world and in containers it's difficult.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, I jumped on board Dongfeng with you guys yesterday and I saw you servicing the boats, and we spoke about how efficient you guys are at turning the boats over, but that's just the surface. I mean, do you think it's more challenging doing the servicing or getting the parts around?
I think there was a lot of setup before the race began, which people don't realise. I spent sort of the whole year build up before we were in Alicante, talking to the teams, talking to Volvo, and trying to come up with a spare parts list. And just that on its own took months. Because if you think about it, you're looking at each winch and you're working out exactly which parts where and what parts we might need throughout the race. And there's hundreds of parts that you've got to think about. And then, as you said, logistics side, we've got to work out how we can get those parts around the world. So we have one air freight that travels non-stop, and then we have two container sets that sort of leapfrog around the world. And we've got to work out what we might need in an emergency, which goes into the air freight, and what we can leave in the container sets. So it's challenging. It's definitely challenging.
It's pretty amazing, because we're talking about thinking ahead. So the wear and tear that comes over these boats, I mean, you've got to basically conceptualise what might happen. Have you been surprised at any stage by bits that you've needed to replace, or have you been able to stay on top of it?
No, we can pretty much stay on top of it, and we've got a lot of experience on this as well. I mean, we've done the Volvo for many years, so we can pull in the experience and what we've seen wear over the last few races, and then work out what we need to sort of hold in spare parts and go from there. But no real surprises as yet. No, not really.
Not really. Have any of the teams given you something to look out for?
Not really. The one surprising one on that front was probably SCA, and only because the amount of hair that gets everywhere is unbelievable. So all the pedestals, you're sort of cleaning up all the pedestal handles, etc., and it's just covered with hair, and they can get in seals and water gets in, and that was probably the most surprising out of all of them, really.
Can I just say here, #Sailor Girl problems. It's challenging. I mean, try sailing around the world with hair.
Yeah, I can imagine. You have to ask the navigator on board about that one at some point, because she did actually get a little bit caught up in one of the gearboxes.
Oh my goodness!
So they had to cut a big chunk of hair out.
Oh
so,
no!
Yeah,
not cool. No, very not cool. Well, I guess that's our wear and tear. But then when we're talking about that things that you've learned, you said you've learned a lot, and you were able to predict a bit of this wear and tear. I mean, is there anything that you'll take into potentially future Volvo Ocean races, or maybe even sailing in other aspects?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is the hardest that our kit is ever going to work. So it's right at the top of its level all the time. So we always take different sort of upgrades, or look at changing little things to make it wear a little bit easier or make it last a little bit longer. So we take a lot from this, and it trickles down into everyday cruising boats and dinghies and everything. So all of our hardware.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, there's nothing that's going to test kit other than I think the Southern Ocean leg must have been a real test for a lot of those fittings.
It was, yeah. That was probably the hardest that we've seen. The service side of it, everything. The main problem we have is everything gets very, very wet. Obviously, that washes out grease in winches, and then it gets very dry and it bakes, and things start sticking. So that's probably one of the biggest problems. because it's very difficult to keep a grease winched or a winch grease when it's got like a fire hydrant running down through it all the time. So yeah, that was a major one. But you could see, not even our equipment, the sails and everything were pretty knackered by the time they got there. Yeah,
I bet. I can't even imagine. But then you also mentioned early on, I mean, logistics-wise with the team, just as these fittings are getting worn down, your team must get worn down as well along the way. How do you guys keep going? It must be an amazing camaraderie amongst the Harken crew.
It is. There is in the whole boatyard, really. It's a good team. Basically, the boatyard is just every single shore team member, the best shore team members in the world, and it's all here within sort of 30-40 people, so it's a really nice atmosphere, and it is hard work, but you just get through it basically, and you've got to make sure that you get your early nights, and it's okay.
Go hard or go home. I did run into Peter Harken on the dance floor the other night.
Yeah, I did see that. He's quite good at that though. He's often seen on the dance floor, so yeah, he's a good guy, really good guy.
So I guess then I've managed to pull you aside for this time. What is it about the Volvo Ocean Race that keeps you coming back personally?
For this one, it was definitely the challenge. This is my third race. This is my first one running it as a project manager, and putting it all together and making it run as smoothly as we are now was the biggest challenge, and it's really rewarding. It's nice to be able to get to the end and have no major problems, and all the teams are happy with what you're doing, and all the kits stay together, and it's really rewarding. It's great.
A well-oiled machine on and off the water, Harken.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. Definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to Mark Gardner for catching up with me here. He's the project manager for everything to do with the Volvo Ocean Race for Harken. It's pretty amazing to hear what happens behind the scenes.